Well, I tell you, I'm tempted to disassemble this whole lathe to clean it really well. I mean, there's gunk underneath there I'm never going to get off without removing this headstock assembly. And I'm looking at it now and it doesn't look like it would be that hard to take apart. So, same thing with the carriage. Yeah, what the heck. Alright, I removed 3 screws and took the foot assembly off on this side. Same thing on that end. That was really easy to remove. You could see all the gunk that was trapped in there. Would have been really hard to clean that out with it still on the machine, but by removing them, that makes it easy. So now you can clearly see I can't put this down any longer without possibly damaging one of these gears, which is not something you want to do because these gears are special. They're made out of an alloy, a zinc alloy, I believe. So you get a funny name to them. I forget what the heck the name is, but essentially you want to be real careful not to break one of those. So I think what we're going to do next is, let's see, it's looking like this whole assembly right here might, not quite sure. It looks like maybe we could take this screw out. Well, that guard's not going to come out. Oh yeah, it will. Okay. So we take that bolt out right there. Take this bolt out, that screw out, and this guard will come off. And then I think we'll take a couple of these gears off. Alright, so that screw right there is a really short little screw. Just so I can keep track of my hardware. And then of course, these are 3 screws on each side to hold these feet on. Make sure, so I got 6, gonna have 6 of these, 1 of these. Alright, so I just took this bolt out to remove that guard. I could reinstall the bolt, or looks like if I take the other one off and then take the 2 bolts off of this bearing cap, I think I can actually remove the entire spindle with the chuck still on it. Belts are going to give me a little bit of a problem. Let's see how this assembly up here looks like it's put together. See if I can take that off first. That'll make life easier. Let me see. Okay, so I pushed this lever forward. I took off my little supporting strap there. I pushed this lever forward. That takes the tension off of these bolts. And I can see that this is almost like a jack shaft. It probably is a jack shaft assembly. So it looks like by loosening these locking nuts right here and loosening these 2 bolts right here, I might be able to get that whole spindle with this wheel to come actually out of there. Oh, that was incredibly easy. Makes this whole thing pop right out. The bolts fall away. Oh, that's nice. Let's keep that together as an assembly. Look at these belts, how much grease, oil, and dirt are on these belts. So, I'm going to probably just keep those belts on there. Wow, look how much is in that pulley. Alright, so now what would be nice is, yeah, here we go. Take this bolt out here, this bolt out here, and a bolt on the bottom right there. And this whole bracket assembly is going to drop off. Correction, it's a nut. Big nut on the bottom here. Take that nut off. Then you get these bolts here, and then you get 2 spacers that you got to keep track of right in there. So now that whole frame just came right off. That was painfully easy also. I'm really loving the way this thing's coming apart. So now I think I want to concentrate on these gears on the end here, because it doesn't look to me like that headstock's gonna come off unless, well, actually that headstock looks like it might come off even with those gears still on the end, but they're kind of in a bad spot there where they could get hit here and damaged. So provided these nuts on the end there aren't too tight, I'm going to try and get those off. All right, before I take this all the way off, I want to point out the design here of this. Basically, when you loosen this, it just flops around, because the way it's designed is a slotted hole. So you can see this this gear is designed to be able to be slid over. And the way that happens is, you can see that this gear right here looks to me like, well, maybe it's this one right here. You see there's a slotted hole right there behind this for this one to travel in. So you must be able to move this down into a different position. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how to change speeds on this thing. There's a chart here on the belt guard and explains that you gotta have basically, for the different feed rates, you've got, there you go, it explains it right here. Position A, position B, spindle, screw. And we got the different, for the different feed rates, you put the different gears in the different positions. And then also we've got different size gears that you put on there, I believe. I think I've got a box of gears that look like they're the same strange alloy that these are made out of, so it probably belongs to this vise. Ah, correction, lathe. Alright, so the way this gear is assembled is you get this gear right here, which has a 96 on it. I wonder if that's 96 teeth. Anyways, and then there's this little hub right here that's behind, goes behind it like this. Okay. And then that's on this shaft, which has a washer up in the front. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this nut back off that I put on there for safekeeping, and I'm going to install this gear, which has a 20 on it. I'm going to install this gear back on here just so I can keep this all put together in the way that it was. Keep track of it that way. Put the camera down so I can, oh, look at this. Can I do this with one hand? Oh, look at that. Talent there, huh? Alright, so that way that'll all be together. I won't have to worry about those parts being misplaced, or when I go to put it together I'll know that that's the order they go in, except for that big gear goes on the outside. But now with that removed, I can remove this nut, and then there's this washer, which has got a beveled edge that faces out. This keyed washer, this spacer, also keyed, and now this gear should slide right off. Let's see if this one's got a number on it. This one also looks like it's got a 96 on it. So I'm betting that's identical to that gear. Alright. This looks like it's gonna stay behind for now anyways. So I will reverse the order of disassembly here and slip this stuff right back on. Well, the camera ran out of memory, but basically what I did was I put all of the little parts that were on the shaft right here back on in the order that they came off to keep them all together so I won't misplace them. And now let's move on to, I think now we can take out the rest of these bolts, take these bearing caps off, and remove the whole, this whole spindle assembly with the chuck complete. Okay, now there's a couple of things I want to be aware of. First thing is, if these bearing caps are able to go on either way, I want to make sure they go on in the same direction, and that's going to be pretty easy because they open, the little oil caps on the top open this way. Obviously if I put them on backwards, then the oil caps will be hard to open and get at from the back there. So I want to make sure that I put them on facing this way. And then the other thing is, if these are reversible, I want to make sure that I keep track of which one goes where, because there probably is some sort of a bearing surface in there that's probably worn very specifically. Let's see if we can get this off. Actually, that might not be a problem because it doesn't look like it even wants to come off. So I think it's going to stay. At least that left one is going to stay with the... Yeah, this one's coming off. There you go. See what I mean? In other words, that's going to have a certain amount of wear. So I don't want this cap over on this side switched. So I'm going to mark that one, and I'll mark that with something to indicate that it's the chuck end. Alright, turns out I don't have to mark them. There is a difference. This one, upon cleaning it up, has a 9-3. So the one with the 9-3 stamped on it is the one that's going to go on this end, closer to the chuck. And this one, when I cleaned it up, on this back side has a 9-4 on it. So this one's the one that goes on the back end. So now I should be able to, I'm going to put the camera down, but I should be able to actually lift up the chuck and this gear end, and the whole spindle should come out. There we go. Now look at all, get these belts out of here. Look at all that gunk and debris and everything that was underneath that would be very difficult to get at. But now it's going to be pretty easy to clean that out.